there, Editing a C here. I just wanted to kind of put this in as a pseudo intro. Originally, this was going to be part of the original Am I the Grinch posts, but I felt the tone of the story was a lot different than the tone of the other stories. And so I wanted to put it in a video of its own just to give it that kind of space that I felt it needed. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much for watching. Am I the Grinch for not calling my wife's daughter to invite her to Christmas? I think I need to start by saying this is a throwaway account. Quote, Christy says Jane uses Reddit. I, 63 male, lost my wife, Beth, 60 female at the time, 3 years ago. We had been together for 30 years. When I met my wife, she was already a widow. Her first husband had died in a car accident. She had a daughter, Jane, 43 female, who was 6 at the time her father passed. We married when Jane was about 10 years old. Ooh, this was okay. When I came into Jane's life, I had no idea how to parent her. I expressed my fears to Beth, and she said to just let her take the lead. I talked with Jane and told her that I knew I could never replace her dad and was not trying to. However, I would be willing to do all the dad stuff that her dad wasn't around to do if she wanted. I drove her to practices, attended every performance, stayed up late to help her study for math tests, taught her to drive and how to shoot. Showed my love of fantasy literature and Star Trek. Our relationship has always been hot and cold though. While she seemed happy, I was never dad or stepdad or even Uncle Sam. I was always just Sam. Beth and I had a son, Tom, 32 male, and a daughter, Christy, 29 female. Jane has a reasonable relationship with her half-siblings considering their age difference. A year or so after Christy was born, Jane became sullen and despondent. After talking with Beth, I offered to adopt Jane. Jane did not take this well, and I never brought it up again. I was the main disciplinarian parent in our household, and while none of our kids were troublemakers, they all did things that got them grounded or their privileges with our cars taken away. I think Jane resented this as well. When Jane graduated high school, each student was able to purchase 2 tickets to the ceremony. Jane purchased 2 tickets and I thought I would be attending, but the week of the ceremony, Beth told me that Jane wanted to use her second seat to memorialize her father. I was hurt, but I understood. She put a picture of him on the empty chair next to her mom. I think it also hurt Beth as well. Jane was an excellent student and she got good scholarships, and I paid the remainder of her cost to go to college. I did get to see that graduation. Yay! Okay. When Jane got married, Beth and I were not able to pay for the entirety of her wedding. We paid about half. She had her father's younger brother walk her down the aisle. She would spend a week or two during the summer with her father's family. At the reception, my wife was again seated next to an empty chair to memorialize Jane's father. I was not given a seat with Beth at the family table, and honestly, I don't remember where I was supposed to be because I spent my time at the bar or standing behind Beth, who was having a very hard time. However, it was a lovely wedding, and once the dancing started and everyone was out of their seats, I stopped worrying about where I was supposed to be. When Jane had her first kid, Beth and I were overjoyed. However, I soon learned that while my wife was going to be Gram, I was not going to be Grandpa, but still just Sam. I am Sam to both her children. This was, again, something that hurt, and when Tom had his first child, he asked me if I wanted to be Granddad or Sam to his kids, and I jumped at getting to be Grandpa. Jane ended up getting divorced after about 4 years ago, shortly after Beth was diagnosed with cancer. She and her kids moved in with us, and we helped her with her lawyer until everything was finalized. During my wife's last year, Jane was with us all the time. It was a huge help to both Beth and I. After Beth passed, I was a wreck and mostly useless. It wasn't right, but Jane ended up doing most of the funeral preparation. I'm very grateful for the help she provided. When Jane's father had died, his mother had helped with the funeral expenses and had purchased a double plot. When Jane prepared the funeral, she organized everything so that Beth would be buried next to Jane's father, her first husband. I was shocked and felt that this was done somewhat behind my back. My wife had never told me of this, but Jane assured me that this was what Beth would have wanted. I talked with Tom and Christy, and they know I intend to be cremated. Because of that, they thought this was reasonable and the plot was already paid for. At the memorial service, Jane was rightfully upset. She told many of the mourners that she was now orphaned and that she and her 2 kids had no close family left. This upset Tom and Christy a lot, but I tried to explain that it was different for Jane. I talked with Jane during the memorial and told her that she does have a family that will welcome her if she wants it. She thanked me and was polite. Okay, we're like halfway through the story, and I just want to say my thoughts. So far, OP has not done any assholey things. He's taken on the role of like a father figure. He hasn't tried to be her father, and he said that explicitly. He's like, I don't want to be your dad if you don't want me to be, right? But he's still taken on fatherly roles. He's taken her to practices. He's taken her to all of the things. He paid for her college, for like the rest of her college. He paid for half her wedding. And I don't think OP so far is the Grinch. I think it's very hard to lose a partner. I'm very lucky to not have had that happen. But it's very hard to lose your partner. It's also very hard to be kind of ostracized like that by one of, like, I know that he didn't adopt her, but symbolically, she's still his kid. He still stepped in as a father, even if she doesn't want to call him her father. And I think Jane has this grudge against Sam for some reason. I don't know if like Beth married soon after her first husband's death. And maybe that's why, but I think Jane is holding this grudge against Sam because I don't know, maybe she thinks that maybe she has this idea that Sam is the reason that her father is being forgotten, which I don't know what Sam has done to like help memorialize Jane's father, but I don't think that Sam has deserved all of the shit that Jane has given him so far. I've not really talked with Jane since the memorial. The first year I invited Jane to all the family get-togethers just like before, even though Tom and Christy were angry with her. I left her voicemails asking how she was doing, how her kids are. However, the last couple of years I stopped because I never get any response. I still send her and her kids gifts for their birthdays and Christmas. I don't actively reach out. One of the last voicemails I left, I told her that all she needed to do was call and I would help her. With all that information, here is where I might be the Grinch. My daughter Christy is getting married next year. She reached out to Jane in the past few months and has been working on reconciling with her. Additionally, Jane's ex lives in a different state and her kids will be gone for most of the holidays. Jane has told Christy about how alone she is feeling. Christy called me and asked me to invite Jane to my house for Christmas. Christy and her fiancé will be there along with Tom and his family. I told Christy that Jane knows she is always invited. Christy says that Jane won't come if I don't call and ask her to come. I told Christy that she could invite Jane, or she could tell Jane to call me. Christy says I am being a Grinch for not calling Jane. I talked with my son Tom, and he says he is tired of the rest of us having to beg Jane to be a part of our family. I love Jane. She is my daughter. But after so much, I just feel like the only way this will work is if she takes the first steps. So am I the Grinch for not calling my wife's daughter to invite her to Christmas? Jane, if you see this, just call. That's heartbreaking. No, that's heartbreaking. First of all, OP is not the Grinch. There are a couple edits, so I'm going to read those here in a second, but I don't think OP is the Grinch at all. He has done everything right. From what I can tell, he's done everything right. And I agree with Tom. If you, for years, have been reaching out to Jane and she's just been ignoring you, then there's no point in begging someone to be part of your family. You have made it very clear that she is a part of your family. Over and over again. You paid for her college. You paid for half her wedding. You helped with her lawyers. You have stepped in as a father, and she has decided that that was not good enough for her. You have made it clear that she is still your family. She is still a part of your family, even though she's not blood related to you, and she has taken that and she has thrown that away. That is not your fault. And so, you are not the Grinch. Jane's being a little bit of a Grinch. I'm going to read the top comment and then I'm going to read the edits. Top comment reads, my grandmother used to say, I turned the other cheek, but I've only got 4 of them. You just ran out of cheeks. I agree. You can only turn the other cheek so many times before you just are tired of getting slapped. Okay. Here is the edit. I am really astounded by all the comments. I thought I would just get a few, but there are too many to answer them all. I do feel the need to clear some things up, though. I tried to be the best parent I could be to Jane, with Beth's help. I never wanted her to feel like our family was not also her family, or that her family had been replaced. I never felt like an ATM machine. I paid less than half of Jane's schooling because of her scholarships. I did what we could for her wedding, and yes, I was pissed about the seating and who got to walk her down the aisle, but Beth reminded me it was her day, not mine. I will be paying for a larger share of Christy's wedding than I did Jane's because my financial situation is different now, but Christy has asked me for something I think her mom would have fought with her. But Christy has asked me for something I think her mom would have fought with her over already, but that is a story for another post. I don't think I did anything that would make Jane resent me, besides marrying her mom. However, Jane has, except for a few occasions, always been polite and friendly to me. Maybe I shouldn't have put the wedding stuff in the posts at all, but she did have a not father-daughter dance with me at her wedding. When Beth passed, Jane told me that her mother was amazingly lucky to have found true love twice in one life. When I offered to adopt Jane, it went very badly. Beth and I had sat her down and made the offer. She thought that after the birth of Christy, she was feeling left out. It backfired horribly. Jane said she didn't want my stupid fucking name. I tried to explain that she wouldn't need to change her name, but she started screaming at me and that she didn't want my stupid fucking name, family, or anything else. Both Beth and I told her that this response was completely unacceptable, but she kept saying nasty things that teenagers say to both me and Beth. I told her that her behavior was totally unacceptable, and since her mom had a lot of class and manners, that this behavior must come from her stupid fucking father's family. Okay. Probably not the best thing to say to a teenager who is acting out. It was very funny, though. Beth told me that I wasn't helping, and I left while she talked to Jane. A couple of days later, Jane asked to talk with Beth and I privately. She said she wanted to move in with her uncle. I figured this was a hollow threat from a teenager, since that uncle lived 2 states over and her life and friends were all where we lived. I said something like, well, if that's how you feel, you and your mom work it out and I will make it happen. I then left. Jane didn't move out. I did tell her that I was glad she chose to stay. Our relationship did get better, but never substantially improved after that point. So I am not a saint. I am human. I did my best. Jane's a grown-up. At the end of the day, Jane is a grown-up. You shouldn't have to beg her to come home. You're not the Grinch. Jane's being a Grinch. And I agree with Tom. I agree with Tom. You shouldn't have to beg her to be part of your family. You've made it very clear that she's part of your family, that you love her, that, she's invited to things. She has been the one to actively decide that she does not want to be a part of it.